Hey, what's going on, guys? If you're new here, welcome to the channel. So if you've seen some of my previous videos, we were talking about building out a layer 2 scale out architecture in a big chassis using VDOMs, virtual firewalls, inside of a FortiGate appliance. So I talked to my network engineers, and we originally scoped out to do BGP, but it was later decided for our internal network segmentations and everything to use OSPF. So here we are in the lab. We are changing from BGP to OSPF, and I don't really know the first thing about OSPF before this video. So I got one of my good friends, he's a high-level network engineer, to come on the video, and we basically sat here and figured it out how to do OSPF in the firewall specifically with this particular architecture build out. So it's a long video. I'm going to apologize ahead of time for the sound issues. If you work at Fortinet or you know somebody who does, please beg them to fix the sound issue bug that is in the FortiClient because it's obnoxious. But yeah, so it's a long video. Apologize for the sound issues, but we were able to get this successfully working. So this is part one, where we have it in a single firewall. And for the next video, I need to figure out how I'm going to network it, but I need to lab up and introduce 2 more nodes over an IPsec VPN. And I think I'm going to attempt to just make a mesh network, because in this video, Senad was talking about a protocol that would make mesh networks incredibly efficient. So, you know, it's slow. Me and Senad are just sitting here kind of like bashing our heads against the wall in this video to figure things out. But if you are a network engineer, or you are a security engineer, or you are somebody and you could benefit from 2 high-level engineers coming together to brainstorm a new way to figure some stuff out. Not that we're figuring out OSPF, but we're figuring out how to do it with this VDOM architecture, right? So he's very familiar with OSPF, and I learned a ton from him, so I hope that you guys can learn as much from this video as I did. And yeah, you enjoy the video. So it's just me and Senad sitting here on a video chat, and because of the FortiClient issues, the audio tracks between he and I kind of got out of sync. So I did my very best to edit it, but this is raw footage, and when we get this thing like ready to go, I'm gonna make a full video that I'm gonna chop up and edit, and I'm gonna just do after voice narration on it so that it looks a lot cleaner. So I appreciate your support, and thanks for checking out the video, and I hope you learned something.
There we go.
All right. So I got 6 VDOMs on this thing. Are you at least familiar with the architecture?
So there's one root, and then every
Yeah. So here's another thing. Let's copy this thing, and with OSPF and stuff. Oops. We could sit here and make a tunnel between these 2 things too.
Okay, let me confirm design. Are we trying to have root run OSPF with the other VDOMs, or are we trying to have external nodes run OSPF with the HQ root to pass on traffic?
So all of these, every thing in the ecosystem participating in OSPF. So that way, when you put up new VLANs on this server, it automatically propagates to these others as to where those routes live. So root is the hub of everything.
Trying to wrap my head around exactly the design, because it's not in here. So let's say the VRF VDOM, right?
Yep. So the VRF VDOM is going to be another VDOM that's specifically attached to root. So all these will route through root to get to VPN. So if you update a route on VPN...
Well, it's not that they need to automatically know about it. Their default gateway needs to automatically know about it, right? Because all of these things will still route... the servers and everything else will not actually participate in OSPF. Yeah. Their subnets will that are controlled by the gateway. Perfect. Okay, I'm in line with what you're saying. So when we turn up a new server and we say, hey, the VRF, VDOM needs to be able to talk to this new server because it is XGS-PON or Ingenious or whatever the hell wants us to install, it'll be in there. Perfect. Yep. Okay, I'm with you.
So this whole tier is scale out, right? Like we were just talking to Kyle, MSP architecture, what he's doing with the Palos, right? So this is scale out architecture. So this is all virtualized. Now, in order to get virtualized links to pass layer 2 traffic, we have to use a specific interface type called an EMAC VLAN, and that has its limitations. But we can pass all the traffic so that the layer 3 gateway of all these subnets is controlled by the VDOM owner, and they can create all of their policies and everything here. And then the root is what's going to connect all the different firewalls together. So this is the hub. But it's going to have a bunch of different spokes. Like, we're talking about like 6 spokes and whatever subnets we spin at District 2, 3, 4, or whatever. Like the core routing at the top of these all need to communicate with each other and automatically update all their routes.
It does. I'm just trying to figure out why EMAC is below the servers.
So I'll show you, because EMAC is essentially the VLAN. So an EMAC VLAN is an enhanced MAC VLAN. So basically you can put up to, on a 24, you can put 254 of them, right? And you can give them all their own unique IP address, and it gives them all their own individual MAC address, but it will pass the VLAN tag in the packet at layer 2. And I can show you what this looks like in an actual, I've built all this stuff out, right? So this, right, this particular firewall has a physical link out of it, and we are virtually bridging an EMAC VLAN to an actual VLAN on both the virtual ingress and the physical egress ports to get tag traffic to a switch that can then determine how to get it to what hypervisor, right? We have this hypervisors online, so we can create servers on whatever VLANs we want. To start off with, we built 4, right? And so we have hosts, people, servers, DMZ, whatever. So presumably this would be the one that you send VIPs to. And then on the FortiGate, so they all sit here in root, and I just have the big 16 blocks going to them right now, right? So just a static route that says this block goes to that one. They all have their own virtual links. They're operating at layer 3. And then on the actual tier that scales out, right? So we have a network on here called like hypervisors, whatever it is. So we have an EMAC VLAN that's writing the virtual VDOM links, and then we can actually pass that through. This is the gateway of VLAN 200. So all the policies and everything are going to operate as if this is the same as a normal VLAN, right? It's got the .1, right? And then it goes down to this transparent VDOM, which is an aggregation point of all the other VDOMs. And on its virtual link, it has an actual VLAN, right? An actual VLAN interface is tagged on the virtual side, so it's got a V, and then on the physical side, it's also tagged. And because this is just layer 2, it comes in with a VLAN tag, it passes it out on this VLAN tag, and then it goes down to the switch as tagged traffic. So we can take the same switches and the same hypervisor and put a VLAN that exists on different VDOMs on the same physical machine, right? So we can create a server here, and then we can create a Windows 10 machine, and in order for that Windows 10 machine to talk to the server, it's going to go all the way up this stack to this firewall, get routed up to root, get routed back down to servers, travel via layer 2 all the way back down to the hypervisor.
Give me 1 second. I just need to try to familiarize myself with the exact EMAC concept for FortiGate, because why not just do a regular VLAN, virtual VLAN, like just a VLAN, virtual LAN?
Because you cannot put a VLAN on the same. You can't duplicate them, right? So if you're putting a VLAN on the virtual interface on this side, right? You can't also put a VLAN on this side because then they have the same MAC address, right? And it doesn't know how to pass traffic between these two at layer 3. You bring an EMAC VLAN into it because you want to have 2 MAC addresses for that VLAN, right? So you could also, to kind of give you an example of it, and if you look at the documentation that I sent, which there's been a lot of documentation, so let me go back up here and find it for you. I thought that I put it in that chat, but those are YouTube videos. But anyway, we'll just go over here and look at it on the docs site. FortiGate EMAC VLAN. How we're doing the root as a hub out of a hub and spoke. You could make that entire point of the tier operate at layer 2 if you put an egress EMAC VLAN on each of their interfaces. Like they could all be in the same /24. And then all that traffic would just be layer 2 traffic between the firewalls. It wouldn't actually go process up to root and then back down. It would just immediately hop over here because it's in the same layer 2 network. So this is the technology that we can actually tag on separate virtual interfaces, right? So if you look at a global level at these interfaces, and we go to the NPU, right? So we have the EMAC on one end of the NPU, and we have the actual VLANs on the other end of the NPU. And that's what we're bridging the virtual firewalls with layer 2 traffic. And then down here, all of these are how we're bridging the VDOMs with layer 3 traffic. These are the interface type that you're using for that.
Yeah, just very FortiGate specific, complex. And that's where I'm trying to wrap my head around.
So I don't know that Cisco, I mean, we could look it up, but I have not heard of this particular use case with virtualized firewalls. So I've heard about this in an instance where you're virtualizing inside of a hypervisor, right? So like if I had an Azure or a Windows hypervisor or whatever, Proxmox, I could put 2 VMs of a FortiGate or Palo Alto or Checkpoint firewall, and they would operate as if they were physically firewalls, right? So that's a completely different use case than you have a giant physical chassis and you're trying to use VDOMs to basically turn your firewall into a hypervisor of firewalls, because then you're limited to what the operating system can support, and like the operating system can't support putting in the same interface type with this VLAN tag on both ends of these. It won't let you. It doesn't work. But with this particular configuration, what they did, and I don't know that other people have something similar to an EMAC VLAN, but it's totally possible that they might, and I just haven't found out about it yet, is a particular interface type. And what they did with this interface type was make it generate a unique MAC address. So it's almost identical, other than the fact that if you look at the MAC address in the table, this one will have a different MAC address than the other.
So I think this one paragraph makes the most sense, I guess, at this point. MAC VLAN cannot be used in transparent mode virtual domain VDOM. In a transparent mode VDOM, a packet leaves an interface with the MAC address of the original source instead of the interface's MAC address. FortiGate implements an enhanced version of MAC VLAN where it adds a MAC table in a MAC VLAN, which learns the MAC address when it passes through traffic. So usually when it passes a routed interface, the source MAC changes to be the new device forwarding to the next one, because that's how it routes, right? So you need to get to your gateway. You're going to craft your layer 3 packet saying, here's my source IP. and then the destination IP is going to be some public IP on the internet or whatever. To forward that to your gateway, though, your MAC address will be your source MAC, and then destination MAC would be your gateway. So in this instance, because we want it to be effectively layer 2 through a virtual domain, that's where the enhanced MAC VLAN, which is really just a confusing ass name, kind of gets implemented. Okay.
Yeah, it's confusing. So, like, I'm sure that Cisco or Firepower, or not, whatever, Cisco or FireEye or whoever comes up with some type of virtualized firewall in the future, they're going to have to implement similar technology. They're going to come up with their own marketing name for it. So this is Fortinet's particular one, but this is the only working configuration after spending, it seems like a month on the phone with Fortinet engineers trying to figure out how to accomplish this. This particular interface type is the only working iteration that we were able to receive. And in the process of that, I confused and stumped, and I made a bunch of level 1, level 2, level 3 people have to have really hard conversations with their engineers to figure out what the right configuration for this was. Because we honestly could not get traffic to pass over a virtual link from the middle to the bottom. So what we could get it to operate that way at layer 3, right? But at layer 3, but then all your policies and your gateways for everything live at the bottom layer, and you can't give a customer
no, it absolutely does,
a particular firewall and have them control their own gateways. Does that make sense? So in order to delegate the ability for them to be able to control their own gateways and their own policy tables and everything as if that firewall were sitting there physically, we use the EMAC VLAN. And what that means is that gives us a couple technical limitations. So one, an EMAC VLAN does not support a DHCP server. So we have to come up with another DHCP that in these subnets that require DHCP, we have to put additional DHCP services on something that lives inside that VLAN. Because it also doesn't support DHCP relays, so I can't point it at one master DHCP server either. So that's one technical limitation. The other one, man, I just had it on my mind and I'm struggling to think about it now. The DHCP server is one. Oh, the other one is that you're essentially, because you're pinning everything up through fire trucks or ambulances, because you're pinning everything up inside of one physical chassis, you're limited to the amount of VLANs in a single table, right? So you can't give VLAN 2 to multiple VDOMs.
God damn.
That must be Gramercy Park again. Somebody shot up the apartment place or something. Dude, it happens all the time living on Springfield Avenue. Gramercy Park gets the police called to it so frequently.
I think I have my head around most of it.
On this that doesn't make sense at this point, or do you feel like you have
the IPs in there? Now I'm kind of more so critiquing the drawing. Why are you reflecting the subnets inside of this box? What does this box represent? The one that holds the EMAC, the VLANX, the bridge mode. You've got your subnets, and then you've got your routes and your nodes at the top. Is that all just your... This is what you're representing as the 1100E HA pair? Oh, no, you said 60F firewall. Okay, I missed that top left corner. This is the chassis. Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is in my 60F firewall. So this is what I have built, right? So inside of this firewall is a root VDOM. And then on each of these center tier VDOMs, right, I've created one network. So, and then I've bound them all to this switch and this hypervisor. So we have a physical machine that I supposedly should be able to ping from the host's firewall, because this is where the gateway of that lives. Kevin did this the other day, and he said he was able to get out to the internet. So let's see, 172.20, that's something. 20.200.2 and 200.3. All right, so that's working. So number 3 should be, yep. So I haven't created a VPN on this, but I can create a VPN real quick, and we should be able to connect to it with the FortiClient and RDP to this IP and create whatever servers we want on whatever VLANs we build in this ecosystem. So let me work on that super quick. Let's make sure we have split routing. Yep. So I need
200. Whoops.
Oh no, nope. I'm in the wrong VDOM. I'm at the wrong layer. All right, so this was already set up from our previous lab setup. So let's create 20.0.0/16. And what is the other one? Let's put these in the routing table. And all right, we're not doing any 16s, so I guess I never really picked a subnet for that. All right, we'll just do 16. That's cool. Delete all this stuff because it's no longer valid. I need to get an eval license and test out the 7.0 version.
Are we going to upgrade 7.0 FortiGate? I mean, yeah, eventually. I just didn't know how soon because we just came from an upgrade like 2.5 months ago.
I mean, we're gonna have to eventually.
Gotcha.
Oh no, I'm not. This is on the .0 firmware. It's more for like tech training, so that we can get used to the features. So like one of the cool features that they're implementing is OSPF and BGP and all the dynamic routing protocols are getting a major update. So if the current system is dependent on those features, seeing what they look like in the next version and being able to put tickets in a Fortinet and fix stuff before we actually go live.
It's actually hilarious because Microtik version 7.0 is actually supposed to be much more routing focused as well.
Really?
Yep.
Alright, so all those don't exist anymore. We'll just send you down this. Oh yeah, I need a user group, don't I? We're going to use backup VPN user. And go to all do not net. Log all sessions. Alright, so to see if that bug is gone. Come on, FortiClient, you can do it. Here we go. Alright, so this one is FGL FW CMI 001. They're breaking up though.
Or you are.
Yep. Just hang on a sec. I am. I just connected to the VPN. And we have liftoff. Oh, .3 is not pingable. So why could I ping the .2 and not the .3? So it works when I ping it from here. So it's online. Why do you think I'm Kevin? So it's sending and receiving data.
Well, that time's off. That's 3 hours ago, right? No, 5.
I don't know what time zone they have set on this thing. This isn't my node.
System time, 1955. So yeah, that was quite a few hours ago. So it's not showing your forward traffic. Is your route installed? Because is it a /32 or is it actually the /24?
It should be the /24. Yeah, it's /24. So that's a directly connected interface on this one. So, yeah, 20.200 directly connected via emac. (172.20.0/16) is going to that virtual link, which is correct. So does it have a policy? Oh, I guess it already had one to go to any.
Oh, it's one of the ones further down were blocking your use for some reason.
I bet you. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's see if it's a Windows setting. Because when I'm pinging it from the firewall, I'm coming from inside of its subnet. But when I'm pinging it from the VPN, I'm outside of its subnet. And let's make sure that we're turning real-time logging on too.
I'll say, you want to do a route print and verify that the entire subnet is truly showing up on your Windows computer? Yep.
20.0/16
to interface.2. Yep, metric 1. So there's nothing higher priority than that. So Indeed is installed, so you should be hitting the FortiGate, so you should see some messages. Oh.
Oh, there we go. So it's getting through, but I'm getting 0 packets back. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's a server issue. Let's see. Let's go to hosts and see what that looks like.
Say, because the FortiGate could ping locally But that server, if it's missing its default gateway, is not routing, then.
Yeah, so from there to there, gets accepted. Session timeout. So I guess I gotta put hands on that server to actually get inside and see what it's doing. Maybe unless traffic's natting, which it shouldn't be. But maybe if I make it nat, then it'll start working. Ooh, nat's custom. I forgot we put these things in central nat mode. Let's see. Bam.
Sweet.
Network manipulation.
It still kind of works around the issue that this thing might not actually have a proper gateway.
Well, that's cool. I can fix that once I get inside of it. Oh, you punk.
Mm.
Let's see. I'm gonna see if our backup local admin will work. While I work on that, would you like to take a look at the Ospf configuration on this thing?
Sure.
So network Ospf.
Which I guess I could probably get into my, because I've got a MikroTik that is, I've got a hex MikroTik that is doing my DHCP for all the LAN, and then the FortiGate just does the NAT and all of the kind of logging of information that's passing through. So I guess I could do OSPF between my two nodes, because I was originally going to just run BGP. So I guess I could start with OSPF. Well, true. It's just, I don't know.
I got 3 nodes to play with here and many VDOMs, so if you want to work out the kinks here, I don't really care if you take down the HQ network, because there's nothing there at all. Oh, hey, look.
Is that a gunshot?
Who knows? Alright, so I can't get in the hypervisor, so I'll have to go put hands on that. But, so like router ID.
Okay.
You just want these middle ones to accept OSPF from another firewall, right?
So kind of, but
okay. So this one is 2 to 254. So let's take it down to 253. And we'll make 254 the loopback interface.
You want to share your screen?
Yep. I would be happy to share my screen, Senad. You can see everything that I'm doing.
Let me stop screen sharing. Okay.
Alright. So, let's go to network, interface. And we will create a loopback interface. Nope, no VRF ID. So one of the cool things I've been testing out the central NAT stuff, and when you put the central NAT in here, the VRF becomes a GUI option. Oh shit! I forgot to put the IP address in there. Oops. Let's go down to hosts. All right.
May I ask why you didn't create that as an object?
Create what?
So you deselected the toggle box to create it as an object in your firewall?
Because so that you can do that, and it's just gonna create it for whatever you name the interface. But then, like, if you go in here and you create that, then you can't control it, right? So you can't do all the things to it. Whereas if you just manually create it, you can do whatever you want to it. So like if you go into addresses, so Loopback interface. So it's bound to this interface, right? You can't change that. You can't change the subnet. Like it's all locked out. So in the FortiManager, that becomes a problem because you have to not have these address objects bound to an interface. Otherwise you get conflict between the file shifts. So like you could do it, it just causes a lot of problems, so I just don't do it. So then 172.20.254.254. And we're going to say that the interfaces are the...
Why'd you name it that, by the way? It's root to host, virtual link 1?
Root.
Gotcha.
Root to host, virtual link 1, yeah. You can only have 11 characters. So we call it VDOM root. It's any IP and authentication. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so that's, yeah, okay. So you can do MD5 as well as plain text. That's pretty cool.
So this network here is where I'm saying...
yes, that's your network statement. So you would put your OSPF in here. Sorry, your OSPF router ID in here as well. So you can... okay, yeah. So there's a few things to know here, and I think we'll be doing regular and not so stubby area, but we'll have to play with it. So in this case, in OSPF, there has to be an area 0. Area 0 is your backbone area where all of your routes are shared. As you turn up new VDOMs, you might want to give them different areas so you can make sure you don't have everybody participating in area 0 where everything is one ginormous routing table. So no, you don't. Nope. It's I would not do that. So area ID, if you see the Arista one, the Arista example. So it all depends on, are you going to have some sort of numbers associated with your, how many of these VDOMs you spin up? Is there going to be a 1, 2, 3, or is there going to be like, are you going to start off in 101, 102, 103? Is there a certain number scheme?
So the number scheme that I have, just for the simplifications and proof of concept, is just to have /16s, right? So the 17s are used for interlinks, right? and then I just have /16s for each of these VDOMs. And then I can create the VLANs that I create are /24s.
I guess I'm more curious about your nodes between, because this is setting up OSPF between your nodes. This isn't what lives off each node. It's what do you have? So District 2, right? If you wanted to call that Area 2, you could. And then you can call HQ Area 1. It has to be in that format, but it's not actually an IPv4 address, so to speak. So you can do, so the way the Arista, that we have it implemented on Arista is 0.0.0.area, right? So if you were to look at, have I ever talked to you about how we do OSPF on the backbone as far as how we get private IPs from one location to another?
No. So from a numbering sequence, if I made like root 0, 0, and then this one, and then the next one 2, and the next one 3, and the next one 4, does that meet what you're talking about?
I would almost do 0.0.0.1 and then go increment that up 0.0.0.2, etc.
Okay.
I would need to read more on how they implement areas to actually dictate, to be able to give better information.
Okay. So that one's already got 0. And then
your router ID should be your loopback interface. Yeah. Okay.
Make sure I actually save that on the other one. I don't know if you gotta click apply twice.
You probably have to create an area 0 on the opposing side as well.
So this is root, this is the top.
Right.
So there's area 0 here.
And then if you go back to your DMZ or hosts, I think you have to create your area 1, which you just did, and your area 0. So I'd create a new one. Because you have to be able to show that you're sharing areas, right?
Mm-hmm.
So area 1 would live off of here, but it shares area 0, which would be with root.
Okay, that makes sense. So then I got to do the same thing on root.
No, root would just be zeros. Root doesn't know anything about the other areas until it's told information about the other areas, until you've turned it up as a... Because area 1 doesn't live on root. Area 0 does. Yeah, exactly. So if you put your 20.25... you can do that too. Yeah.
You talking about the loopback interface?
I would put the loopback interface in there as well. In your... Let me see.
So those... No, not 16.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say 16. I meant to say /24. Alright, so these are the networks that currently exist on the host firewall. And they're in this area.
Correct. And now if you go hit the plus interface, I would assume that you would need to go ahead and add the interfaces related to those on here, right? So
it's all going to be related to these.
Yeah, so does it share VLAN 200 with root? And then the other thing is cost in here. Yep, sorry about it.
No, so this is like specifically to this, right?
So the other thing was cost. So when we start talking about cost, sometimes you want to deprioritize a certain path. In our instance, I feel like most of everything's going to be 0 just because... Just thinking about this.
Invalid mask null.
It highlighted I think it highlighted the area 0.0.0.1. Yeah, so the thing highlighted is what's... No, shouldn't be a...
Say an invalid mask.
Let's see, this is...
Router ID. trying to give me crypto ads. So 0, 0, 0, and then he's got the 24. So what am I missing on here? Because I got a 0, 0, 0, and I got 24. Do I need to delete this? Current.
I'm trying to find out how they.
200. Node check object failed for name Vlan 200. It doesn't even say Vlan 200 anywhere in here. Alright, that saved successfully.
Let's see if you hit apply.
So now let's create 0 to 0 to 1.
Okay.
And we'll move you to that area. And that saves successfully. I think that's some bad
Then what the fuck? Was it the interface that just threw it off?
It was saying VLAN 200 for some reason. Maybe there was like a space on it or something. Sometimes the like auto stuff that keeps you from doing dumb stuff backfires. Now, there we go. Okay, so on the host firewall, I have VLAN 200.
Fuck off. Jesus Christ. Oh, you know what? Let's try, do it /32 again in area 1. I wonder if that was the issue. I wonder if it doesn't accept 254/32. Then you hit apply. What? Oh, fuck off. God damn it.
Whatever.
Okay. So now the question would be, can root, once we've got the interface injected, well, you've got to inject the interface.
For root? Yeah.
Well, you've got to go back to your roots instead of your hosts.
I wanted to check out what this
and you need
OSPF
to, yeah, you've got,
looks like.
Oh, you want to look at your routing table?
So now it's got 0. Okay. So config neighbor. Edit, delete, show neighbor. None.
It wouldn't have a neighbor yet. Because you need to go to your root and create the neighbor on whatever the shared interface is between the two. So what I would do is, yeah, I was going to say, you should create your loopback just so you can at least, you'll be able to ping your loopbacks between each other when they're there. And you can at least see some new routes. /32. Oh, it automatically accepts it. Nice. Invalid mask null. So I wonder if you have to explicitly define /32 versus just hitting OK on just the IP. You see what I mean?
No idea. What do you mean?
So if you do 172.16.254.254/32, because last time you just hit OK, and it automatically accepted it, and then hit apply. Okay, so if you just hit OK with just the IP, there's no mask, even though it enters one. So that's just a strange bug.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of see what I mean?
Oh, not Loopback.
So you will need to do your virtual link on your opposing end if that's the
That's how they're talking
VDOM.
to each other.
If that's the... Gotcha, but I don't think host had that injected. You had VLAN 200 injected instead, which is, I assume,
It is
south.
So you need north as well.
So I was gonna say you probably don't need VLAN 200 as an interface.
Okay, I got you.
Because you only want your connected interfaces that are communicating OSPF in that table. So if you hit apply, which there are advanced options, I did not see what's in there yet.
Redistribute commands.
Oh, hell yeah. Sweet! So this is where you would say connected interface, right? And then I have no idea what the hell. Is that a metric?
I don't know.
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean.
Maybe the weight? Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of wondering, that like the metric, the weight.
So connected. So this is what you're... Is this kind of what I was talking about, where it'll auto-populate the things that we create on here?
Very likely, yes. But that's also very powerful because either someone can manually create the networks and say what they want to share, or they can just say all connected, and any connected network is going to be put into your table, which can get scary.
Let's try it out.
So now if you go back to your CLI, and you actually should have I guess, yeah, you can just do show neighbor.
Oop.
I think it was just show. None so far.
Oh, I'm in the wrong context. So interface would be R to H BL dash 1. Syntax error and filter. So it would be, would it automatically originate from the source interface, I wonder?
From the connected interface that it's talking on, yes.
You got trains going by?
Yeah, probably. I don't live too, I live a block and a half away from trains. I'm off of Old Church Road, in South Savoy. So right before the Walmart.
Nothing. Alright, let's do any. So that is the IP address of the root firewall that connects. So if the host firewall is sending traffic to the root firewall, it should show up in this. Because it would be sending that traffic to 172.17.0.1.
I mean, are we sure that they can even talk right now?
No, we're not. I have no idea.
So I guess we're trying to establish communication when there might not be any period right now. Like even just normal like ARP entry back and forth between the virtual links.
Well, no, that all works.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So we've got no traffic from our peer period.
Well, how the hell was that now? It has to work, because I was getting from the VPN all the way down to the hypervisor. Let's see. VDOM links. didn't have ping enabled.
Hmm. Well, go in there. Was there any other HTTP SNMP?
Security fabric. I don't know if that's a port that it would use for SPF, but I can turn it on.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I wonder if it is, if you don't have any filter rules, then it's not a problem. But if you do have filter rules, and you don't allow,
well, they're directly connected interfaces, so this should be operating on the administrative plane, not the policy plane. Right.
I don't know. Say up arrow, homie. Okay. Okay. Cool.
So yes.
So now if you go into your config router OSPF and go check if there's any neighbors, because you did enable the So is this neighbor actually underneath OSPF?
Oh.
Or is it going to another process?
So the neighbor is a subprocess of OSPF.
Okay, so
you have to do config neighbor.
So there's no neighbors right now.
Supposedly.
I wonder if it's because there is nothing in area 0 on hosts. So let's go to hosts again. Hosts, yep. And if you go to...
Okay, so I think I get
So if we change that loopback to area... Yep, that one. To area 0. Although this shouldn't make sense because they talk on the R-H-VL1 because that's on both sides, right? We verified that was on both ends. Yep. So port speed auto negotiate, okay. Authentication none. Apply to IP, any IP. Is there no GUI way to see neighbors?
So this guy had, not this guy, this guy. He has a section in here for diagnostics.
Get router info. Routing table, okay. Database. Okay, and it'll tell you if you've got any OSPF. I guess we can try that too. Get router info, routing table, database. Hey, there you go. Directly connected. Cool. So you've got, so anytime you see O, it's OSPF. So now the question is your neighbor learning it? The problem is probably not, because we're not seeing a neighbor registered. It was the get router info routing table database. So it's all connected and static. There is no OSPF. Oh, you've got static routes that are very likely subverting your OSPF, right? Because you've got 172.20.0.0/16. So you need to go to static routes and tell them to fuck off or disable them or change that to over 110. So if you do it we usually do it 240 is what we set ours to for static routes. And so now if you go back to your table in your CLI, I'll say through your CLI. You just go export that table again. Oh, you've got, wait.
You don't want to do the same thing on here?
Gotcha. Yeah, all right. Okay.
Right, so I do see these.
So now if
those are the ones when I was doing the ping test from 47, so that was 5 minutes ago.
Nope, it's
so get router.
Nope. Info, routing table, database. So OSPF directly connected. So now if we go back to your root, the question is, are we sharing that subnet? So if you press up arrow, yep, that was it. I thought, yep, that one. Enter. It is not learning via OSPF. So it's still, there's something going on where OSPF is not communicating between these two VDOMs because they're not seen as neighbors. Is there a service that you have to enable anywhere that says enable OSPF on an interface?
No.
So if you go to your R-H,
let's see what's next on here.
get router interface, get router info OSPF database brief. I wonder if the root, the area 0 is implied.
OSPF. Let's see if there's a docs.forward in that. There we go.
Yeah, that's what I was reading.
Any working examples in here? I don't know why the page keeps jumping back up to the top. Set router ID. No, it says area 00 on router 1. Setting that network mask. Router 1, port 2 external. Configure OSPF interface. Config OSPF interface. Okay, so it's got an interface for that purpose. So this one's saying create area 000 on router 3. No, there we go. What's that previous one? Troubleshooting OSPF. Passive OSPF interface doesn't send out.
And that's kind of what I'm wondering if, because it's currently passive, but I'm not seeing an option in here to set it to active. Because I'm looking at troubleshooting right now.
I can't manually create one either.
Doesn't send out any updates. It means it can't be a DRB or yep, you saw that. Can cause problems when they're not receiving the routing updates you expect from neighbors.
Make it an active interface. So let's see what all is in here.
Bidirectional forwarding detection. It is a fucking awesome protocol. You probably don't have to care about it in this case because they're all virtual links. But effectively, what BFD does, so have you seen any of our crazy giant OSPF networks?
No, dude. I've never worked in the NOC.
No, I don't know if anybody's ever talked to you about some of our sites. So in some of our sites, they're multi-homed and they're fed by radios, right? So that means if a certain radio...
Mm-hmm.
It has, so BFD runs on top of a routing protocol. It's not a routing protocol. It just is a hello packet that sends out hellos in a sub-second interval. So if it misses a certain amount of hellos in that less than a second time frame, in a certain designated like 500 milliseconds, says I missed 3 hellos, it's going to say this route is dead. Swing over to your neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, we probably don't have to care about that because everything's connected to a route, and only time you'll actually kill anything is when you decide to kill it, right? When you want to kill that interface. If we're going to say that you're going to be connected to Kevin, and both of you are going to be connected to route, right? So now you've got a triangle. If Kevin lost his connection to HQ, right, but still had connection to you, he'd be able to fail over to you in a sub-second failover. It is such an awesome protocol. But it only works when you've got triangles and multi-homed locations, right? If it's only single-homed, meaning MIS talks to root, NOC talks to root, SecOps talks to root, Backbone talks to root, whatever, they'll only have that one point, and as long as they don't connect each other, you wouldn't need that.
So it's more for mesh networks.
Yeah, exactly. Best way to summarize it. I just really like the protocol. It's really fucking awesome.
I don't know. I'm looking at their documentation, even the advanced inner area. We've pretty much got all this stuff down. We're not using authentication. So my next step would be to get Fortinet on the phone.
So I found a KB. It's enabling passive interface when using OSPF, but the same should be true. So if you go config router OSPF, it gives you the option to say set passive interface and then port number or whatever your reference port is. So I wonder if you can say set no passive or something along those lines.
Well, right now if I do a get, passive interface is blank.
So does that mean it's actually active?
See if I just find it in here. Router.
Ospf, yep, right there.
Alright, so there will be a legend down here. Nope.
Yeah, that's just a troubleshooting document that we already read.
I don't know. Do you have any other ideas?
I mean, we're not even seeing hellos go back and forth. And we've injected those interfaces in. So I'm wondering if it's getting filtered out.
So, like, even if it was getting, so like the diag packet sniffer packet, any interface host 172.17.0.1, right? So if the host firewall is sending traffic to the root firewall, that's the only link that they have, right? That traffic should be going to that interface. So I do 40A so that it'll just keep running. So this shows me all the traffic that's going to that interface. Now if I ping, I think that I'm in the root firewall on this one. Nope. Let's go to this one. I want to be in the host firewall. Alright, so one's got the packet sniffer running. Whatever, we'll just end CV, edit, host, XC, ping, 172.17.0.1. Alright, so you see those pings going across. So if the firewalls were sending hello traffic to each other, we would see it in this screen here. So this tells me that the firewall is not sending hello traffic to it. Because if you originate something from the system, it automatically says that it's going to come from the external interface unless you specify a source IP. The default is for it to leave, whatever source interface it leaves from is going to be the source IP address in the packet. So really what we should be seeing is 172.17.0.2 should be trying to talk to 17.0.1 with hello packets or whatever they're going to use to negotiate their OSPF traffic. Why the host firewall is not initiating and trying to inform its neighbor, I don't know why that part is doing it.
Let's see. Forum post. OSPF between two VDOMs. Interface. OSPF network. From VDOM 1, I cannot reach blank, but VDOM 2, I can reach blah.
Oops, that's my phone.
Diag sniff packet host. Fort, see if it's actually going. Yep, I see the same command that you already ran. I have a single policy for testing. Mm-hmm. And that is where it dies. There's not any more information. That's shitty.
Yeah, so like we could spin our wheels on this, or we could just put a ticket in.
I love spinning my wheels.
Can work on that tomorrow. Actually, no, I'm not gonna work on it tomorrow. You love spinning your wheels. You have access to this, don't you?
Is this is the lab firewall?
This is the one that's in MR2. No, I'll send you the VPN config for the lab. It's its own firewall. It was that just destroying my audio connection.
This is the stuff that I find fun, so.
So fast forward a little bit, and Senad, who's the genius that he is, figured out how to get OSPF to work. And the missing piece that we had was that we did not include the link in between the firewalls in the configuration. So I looked this over. I didn't work with Senad because he's insane and he stays up till all hours of the night. But the differences that I notice in here, on the root firewall, we haven't taken part of any advanced options. No passive interfaces have been set. But one of the things that I do have that's different in here is that the network 17.0.0/30, which is the link between these two firewalls, is on both of these now. And that looks to be the only difference. So what I did, and this is just me wanting to test something out. So if you recall in that video, because you probably just watched it like 30 minutes ago, maybe, I want interfaces that are built on this firewall or on any of the other firewalls that we build to automatically distribute their routes to their interfaces that get created. So I have enabled this. I have not validated that it works. But one thing I did validate is that OSPF is running traffic between these firewalls. I can do a sniffer and see that. And then I can also, on the root firewall, so this is in root, and in root we have OSPF entries for the loopback interface and the Vlan with the EMAC gateway that we have on that firewall. And we can see a time over here. Same thing for this. This is an OSPF route. It has a time, even though it's a directly connected interface. So a little bit of overlap on that one, but this is the key thing that I like. So, and we proved that it's passing traffic. Oops, wrong one. It's passing traffic, so we have OSPF updates going out relatively frequently over the course of an hour. So what I'm going to do now is I'm on the host firewall. I'm going to create a new VLAN, and I want to see if it gets updated on the root firewall. So let's see, what is the IP address for this one? Okay, so it's 3rd octet is the VLAN. So we're going to call it, let's just take a screenshot of this so I can reference it on the other window. there's no interface to put it on. Oh, I have to be in global, don't I? Vlink 0. Okay, so let's try this again. And we're going to put this on the host virtual domain. And we'll put ping on this. HTTPS just for shits and giggles. Maybe some SSH. Never do this in production. Minimize how many things you have administrative stuff to. Alright, so the VLAN and then so on VLink 1 I need to create an actual VLAN. Let's do this. Make sure I'm naming everything consistently. Alright, so this is going to be VLAN 201-V for virtual. This is going to be on VLink 1 with VLAN tag 201, and this is going to exist on the transparent firewall. And this is going to be VLAN 201-P. Oh yeah, okay, so this is on the physical, so this needs to be on internal 5, which is also on the transparent firewall. Alright, so both of those should be created. Let's go into the transparent firewall and add that to our policy table. 210 bridge, 200 bridge, here we go. Paste below. And we'll say this is VLAN 201 bridge. Ta-da. Alright. Enable. So that's the routing table. So we're on root, so 201, E2. 201 as a directly connected interface automatically has a route updated on the root firewall. So that's pretty cool. I think that I want to take this one step further and see if we can add. Okay, I need to add multiple nodes. So how about I'm going to add Kevin's firewall and I'm going to add my home firewall to the Ospf network. But I will do that in another video. I'm going to call this a big win for now, and this puts this video right around an hour and a half. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up, and if you know other Fortinet engineers, send them to my channel, because we're going to put out some good content this year. Talk to you guys later. Oh, yeah, don't forget to subscribe.